This guy's name is Mark. To stay away from the city's noise, he spent all his money buying this whole mountain, and collected hundreds of cedar logs by himself. He built his dream house with his own hands. There were even gray wolves around, working while admiring the snowy scenery, while enjoying the cozy atmosphere inside the room. Before starting the house construction, Mark needed more than 2.5 weeks to gather enough wood. Luckily, he brought some tools from home. He chopped down trees more easily. Every log was carefully measured, and he had to saw them in half, then peeled off the bark. The cedar bark was quite soft, just gently separated them, so he could peel it off easily. In the following days, Mark was either chopping wood or peeling bark. Each log had to be carefully selected. This work took quite a lot of time. After collecting enough wood, Mark began working on the house foundation. He carefully measured everything many times, and he used a wooden stick to mark positions, taking waterproofing into consideration. He didn't choose to build with round logs directly. He carried the planks himself, and started preparing the house floor first. The foundation and frame of the house took shape. Mark placed the wood and began building the walls. Then he stacked them around the base. He drilled and fixed them together, ensuring the house was strong enough to withstand storms. Thanks to Mark's regular physical training, he could lift these logs quite easily. Mark even carefully built the porch. Then he started raising the house walls. He carefully marked with a pen, continuing to use a chisel to secure the logs. Mark worked like a professional carpenter. He paid attention to every detail of the house. He used chisels and saws to carve out small sections of the logs, planning to join them together with wood joints. Because the logs were not all the same size, so before using, he cut them neatly. This type of wood joint took a lot of time, just taking it step by step to make the logs overlap properly. Then secured them with screws for more stability. That way, the house would be very sturdy. Before continuing with the construction, Mark realized the floor hadn't been treated against rot. He opened a can of paint he had bought, so he coated the beams under the floor, creating a protective layer against rot and moisture. He continued stacking the logs higher, when the walls reached waist height. Before installing the windows above, Mark also carved grooves for the window frames. He secured the window frame. He continued building the walls around with logs. When the walls were high enough, Mark hurried to find some logs nearby. He cut them to the right length. He made a simple ladder. He needed a ladder to keep working higher up. The walls were now almost taller than him. Mark used a longer than usual log, and he measured each part precisely, and carved grooves along the marks. Now he just needed to flip it around. Then he placed square logs to form the roof frame. He planned to make a sloped roof. This also helped rain and snow slide off more easily, and fixed it with bolts. The next day, Mark added a support beam for the wall, and placed a long beam across the roof, to make roofing easier later. If he wanted to place the wood on the roof accurately, each cut needed to be very precise. He just needed to fit the log into the groove. He needed screws to secure them. Mark was like a professional carpenter. Every step was done very meticulously by him. With Mark's hard work, the house gradually took shape. Mark continued working on the porch. Then he used a ruler as a measuring tool for the roof. He marked the excess wood on the roof and cut them off with a saw, so the roof could be covered without obstruction. Time quickly passed into autumn. To prevent the log house from being damaged by rain, he quickly covered the roof with waterproof tarps. Since there was no one to help, laying the waterproof tarp on the roof was difficult. If Mark had someone to help, things would have been much easier. To prevent the house from rotting in the rain, Mark carefully painted the house with anti-rot coating. The log house was now fully protected. It also looked brighter and more appealing. The next day, Mark bought 2 large planks. First, he cut a groove in the corner and applied a coat of wood wax on the surface, then brought it inside the house. He installed them onto the floor. It felt quite solid already. Mark continued with peace of mind. After fixing the floor, he added another front door. He secured the main door with hinges. Now the house was almost complete. Just a few more stones in front of the porch. Mark arranged stones of various sizes under the porch, even under the foundation, stacked neatly in rows, until every gap around was filled. He added more soil beneath the porch. Then he added planks on top. And so, a clean porch for the house was completed. After finishing the anti-rot treatment, Mark nailed them together. It now looked much safer. To ensure there were no gaps in the walls, Mark collected more moss from the forest. He stuffed directly into the cracks in the walls. Here in winter, temperatures drop very low. Mark also started to feel tired. He lit a fireplace to keep warm. Now the work was much more comfortable. Even the leftover wood pieces were not wasted. Mark planned to use them as a porch fence. He carved grooves into the log walls. He cut the remaining wood and installed them right onto the porch. Marked the support beams. Then he lifted the logs back down and used chisels to make joints. Mark finished building the porch fence. He carefully cleaned off the dirt, because earlier the roof waterproofing wasn't good. Today, Mark wanted to add another waterproof layer. The screws had left many holes in the roof. This time, he fixed the tarp from the side. He found some logs. He cut them into evenly thin sheets to secure the waterproof tarp. This task was no problem for him. In less than 2.5 hours, he had secured the entire roof tarp. Then Mark trimmed off the excess tarp. Now he just needed to cover it with moss, decorating the roof to blend with nature. Mark also tied it all down with ropes, so that soil wouldn't wash down the slope. The next day the sun came out again. Mark woke up early and carved a small hole in the wall. The size was fairly small, just big enough to fit the chimney pipe. The chimney extended outside up to the roof, so rainwater wouldn't leak inside. But the fireplace fireproofing couldn't be overlooked. Mark brought back natural insulation and screwed it in. He secured bolts into the corners. Even though the planks weren't very pretty, at least he wouldn't have to worry about fire later. Mark was relieved after assembling the fireplace. He placed on the fireproof panel. After connecting the chimney, the house was now much warmer. He fixed a hanging hook onto the wall. This way he could hang a hammock to sleep, enjoying his time in the wooden cabin. Unexpectedly, a grey wolf came by that night. The next morning, Mark hurried to make a door latch and installed it inside the main door to make the house safer. He hammered in 2 more nails on the door. It was used to place daily tools. Then fixed a storage shelf above, and also very convenient for bottles and jars. In addition, Mark made full use of the remaining walls. Mark added curtains to the windows. It also added more privacy, which also made the house look more comfortable. Outside, snow covered everything white. Mark's wooden cabin was still very cozy, with the fireplace lit. Meals also became much more convenient. Tonight, Mark would enjoy a delicious steak. When the steak surface turned a tempting dark brown, he quickly stir-fried the chopped vegetables and satisfied his hunger. With winter coming, Mark needed a lot of firewood stored for the house. To store more firewood, he prepared to build a woodshed next to it. He joined the wood into a square frame, then made a smaller square frame in the same way, using long screws to assemble them, forming a trapezoid frame. After securing the top beam, a wooden plank floor had to be laid underneath. Then more support beams were added on the sides. The woodshed slowly filled up. Mark was full of hope for the future life. And so, after half a year of hard work, at last, Mark had fulfilled his dream. In the middle of the quiet Primeval forest, building his dream wooden house with his own hands.